okay. Yeah, it's okay. Thank you so much Hassan. قبل ما نبدأ المحاضرة دي معلش أعذروني مع إنه أنا زولا اتخرجت وقريت في السودان وجيت كندا دي قبل 10 سنة لكن شغلي كله وتعلمت data science ده in English, so I'm gonna do my best إنه to switch between عربي وإنجليزي. At any point if there is anything that you didn't understand, ping us on the chat or يعني بس unmute yourself and say hey أمنية ممكن تعيد الكلام ده تاني. I'm really happy to be here today, and it's worth mentioning إنه لما السيشنز دي بدأت قبل سنة ونص Yusuf you volunteered me to give the first session, so I'm really happy إنه الانيشيتيف دي واصلت للآن و it seems like a group زاد فدي حاجة كويسة جدا جدا. Thank you Yusuf for organizing it, not just Yusuf but everyone who's being part of it. Okay, my name is Omnia Elmassad. أنا خريجة كلية العلوم الرياضية جامعة الخرطوم دفعة 2004. 2010 I migrated with my family to Toronto. I did my master's in applied statistics في 2011-2012. موضوع data science ده كان ما مشهور شديد، ما كان في أي جامعة هنا في أمريكا or Canada they were offering programs في data science. That's why I chose to do applied statistics. I started working in the healthcare industry من 2014 أو 2013. أخذت لي gap سنة واحدة قلت let me try other industries, and I worked as a consultant in 2016 and 2017. ما عجبتني الشغلانية، حسيت إنه موضوع healthcare ده is more interesting to me, and that's why today I want to not just pitch data science to people here, but also talk about how we can use data and data science and AI and data engineering and a lot of the stuff that people now use these days in a completely different industry that it might be not that advanced when we go to the Middle East or Sudan or that type of that region. Currently, I am the head of data science in a company called Eversana. It's a life science company. And before I talk about what I do, let me introduce you to a problem that we have every time we talk to pharmaceutical companies. لما الشركات دي تكون دار تعمل drugs جديدة بتاخد زمن من يحصل ال R&D، إنه بيقولوا أوكي خلاص أنا I'm interested إنه في نوع من الديزيز نحن دايرين نفتش له علاج. عملوا كل research، وصلوا مرحلة إنه دايرين to run clinical trials. لما تيجي تعمل clinical trials دي بالعربي اسمها شنو؟ ما أعرفه، لكن دي الريسيرش بيحصل فيها. أنت بتجيب جروب من الناس البيشنتس اللي هم عندهم الانديكيشن المعين، تمام، وبتجيب جروب تاني ما عندهم الانديكيشن لكن ما بتديهم الدراج حقك اللي أنت داير تشوفه تجربه، تشوف إنه هو كويس ولا لا، عنده adverse events ولا لا. فالجروب الأول بياخد زي ما قلنا treatment، الجروب الثاني بياخد حاجة بيسموها placebo. They think they're taking the drug, but in fact they're not taking it, right? And the whole idea إنك أنت تشوف التأثير حق الدواء ده، يعني ال organization like a FDA, this is Food and Drug, I forgot what the A stands for, but دي الهيئة اللي في أمريكا اللي بتقرر إنه والله الدواء ده نافع ولا الدواء ده ما نافع، وهل الدواء ده عنده side effects بتخليه إنها هي it's gonna harm the patient later ولا لا. فعشان هم يثبتوا الحاجات دي لازم يحصل نوع من الكومباريزن. الكومباريزن ده بيكون بإنه تشوف البروجرس حق patients on the drug compared to another group of people where either they're taking the another drug that already existed in the market or they're not taking the drug. Literally بياخدوا حبة ولا حاجة عبارة عن سكر. فالبروسيس دي عشان تحصل it's very 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 expensive, it's time consuming, بتاخدهم زمن طويل جدا جدا عشان تلقى تفتش patients عندهم ال diseases دي, especially when it comes to rare diseases. دي حاجات زي بيسموها شنو يعني immune diseases, autoimmune diseases زي الذئبة الحمراء, lupus. دي انت عشان تلقى patients تجري فيهم الدرug it's a completely like very difficult and process. فلنفرض انه نحن قررنا انه دايرين نعمل الكلينيكال ترايل دي ودايرين في كل جروب يكون في 100 بيشنت. تمام؟ اذا انا حياخد مني سنه عشان القى 100 بيشنت، كيف انه انا في 6 شهور اقدر اعمل الكلينيكال ترايل حقتي دي بعدد اقل من البيشنتس؟ باي انه اجيب الجروب و في زور رسل حاجه. one second. Rare diseases, yes. Is that a question? What rare diseases? From Selma Atahir? No. Okay. Get. Okay. Yeah. So how can إنه أنا في 6 شهور أعمل recruitment أو ألقى لي half of these patients وأخدهم on the drug of interest, and instead of hiring another 50 عشان أجرب فيهم either دواء أصلاً كانوا بياخدوه أو ما بياخدوه, can I use data instead? That's the first question. So people start thinking, okay, yeah, we can use data. There are a lot of data that is available. أنت لما تمشي الدكتور, الدكتور either they take notes on a paper, right? يعني أنت بتقعد تحكي والله يا أخي أنا صحيت الصباح جاني صداع, استفرغت كم مرة, ظهري بيوجعني. دي حاجات بيسموها symptoms in English. So you have these symptoms and the doctor either write it on a paper or they put it on a software. This software, they call it electronic healthcare record. Okay? وما بس في العالم حق North America ده, لكن I think everywhere. Usually people go to the same doctor. Especially لو أنت عندك rare disease or chronic disease or عندك cancer, حمان الله من كل الأمراض دي. لو عندك الحاجات دي أنت بتكون بتتابع مع الدكتور ده كل شهر. تمام؟ So how about instead of recruiting patients وتقعد انت تمشي كل مره تعايلهم كل شهر عشان تتاكد انه هو الدراج حصل لهم side effects ولا لا, how they're progressing, the quality of life حقتهم بقت كويسه ولا لا, how can I use that data instead? ف 10 years ago everyone was like, oh yeah, data, we can reduce the cost, we can make it faster. Well, they got really excited. When they started looking at the data, they realized it's so messy for many reasons. One, الدكاترة خطهم شنجة شديدة. Sorry if anyone here is in the medical field. And if they're using these software, sometimes they don't put all the information in the right places. And on top of it, it's a massive amount of data that we need to figure out how we can use it, right? So الناس كلها بقت بتفكر, okay, قبل ما نحن to know how to use that data in research, is there a way where we can use it, make it structured? Because think about it, لما نحن نتكلم عن الدكتور notes دي, سواء كانت في ورقة ولا كانت في software, it's just paragraphs. It's not structured data. It's not a data that you can put in Excel. يكون table كده وانت عارف الاسم حق البيشنت شنو, عمره شنو, indications or symptoms اللي عنده شنو, الدواء اللي بياخده شنو. دي عبارة عن just a giant big paragraph. So how can we transform that data from unstructured data into a structured data that we can use in research? And that's one application for data engineer, right? At this point, we're not even talking data science. We're talking about data engineers. Data engineers' job in healthcare is to figure out how they can move unstructured to structured, right? You build ETL processes, you build ingestion processes عشان تقدر تعرف إنه الحجم الكبير حق الداتا ده أنت كيف ممكن تخليه usable for the users. لأنه ال end users حقونك حيكونوا maybe they're statistician, maybe they're just researchers or epidemiologists. ما عندهم technical skills اللي بتخليهم إنهم هم to navigate that big amount of data. They need someone to help them cut it in small chunks. طيب, they said, we need data engineers. And then data engineers came in and they're like, oh, no, my job is to help with the transformation. My job is not to run you natural language processing, right? That's where the application of AI comes handy. كيف أنا أقدر أعمل لي algorithm that looks at the text and know الاسم وين, العمر وين، إذا أخذت blood pressure للبيشنت ده هو الفاليو حقته شنو. right. So then that's when people now they call them NLP engineers come handy. ديل هم مهمتهم الأساسية إنك أنت to tag the information in that huge text, كويس, and then pass that algorithm to one for data engineers, and then that's how you move unstructured data to structured data. تمام. Then الناس قالوا okay, that looks impressive. NLP is not at the stage today that would help us tag every single thing. There are a lot of models available online that helps you tag medication. بتوريك الدواء وبتوريك الجرعة حقته قدر شنو. بتوريك نوع المرض اللي عند الزول ده شنو. لكن مثلا ما بتوريك إذا أنا كتبت في النوت حقت الدكتورز كان مكتوب والله أمنية المساعد عمرها كده، الويت حقها وزنها كده، والهايت حقها طولها حاجة معينة. These two things they're not captured by that model. Plus في حاجات تانية الناس بيستخدموها when they describe the symptoms for the patient. يعني مثلا especially when it comes to mental health. لما الزول يكون عنده depression ما بيقولوا، ما بوصفوا بيقول لك إنه أنا I feel depressed. بيقولوا things like I feel blue, I feel down, right? So how can we take some sort of this information that doesn't exactly describe the symptoms but عارفين إنه من معناها ممكن إحنا نعرف الsymptoms شنو. And that's where machine learning comes handy. Because they said, okay, أنا لو عندي مثلا 3000 note, doctor notes for patients. إذا أنا داير أعملها كلها باي هاند، أقول يا أخي أمشي لنيرس أقول له أقري وبعدك وريني السيمتومز شنو، وريني الزول ده الدايجنوز حقه شنو، ما ممكن يقعدوا يقروا 3000 note in like a day. In fact, أنا where I'm working now, we have a team that has 20 nurses. Their job is just look at these notes. And the 20 ديل I think in a week they're able to do about like 300. So that's also very expensive. ممكن ان احنا بنتكلم عن a cohort في US that has 200 million patients. وإذا أنت بتمشي للدكتور 3 ولا 4 مرات في السنة أضرب 3 و4 في 300 million. That's a lot amount of data. So they say, okay, how about we use machine learning here, because we can take a sample of 100 notes, ask human being to label it, then give it to a machine, build the model, and it could be as simple as يا أخي based on information أنت عندك في النوتس دي الزول ده عنده depression ولا لا. It's just like binary labeling. عندك depression, no depression, depression, no depression, or cancer, no cancer, or what type of cancer it is. Is it lung cancer or not? Is it breast cancer or not, right? So you take these labeled data and you build a machine learning model, and then you go on the other notes that you're not able to curate. Curate means إنك تقعد كده وتباري الحاجات ب a human being and manual process to tag it. And then instead of curating these notes, you run that machine learning algorithm on it, and then the algorithm decides if that note is describing depression or describing cancer or describing lupus. And then they're like, okay, for us to be able to do all of this, I need three types of people. زي ما قلنا, you need, the first thing, you need data engineers, you need NLP engineers, and you need machine learning engineers. الناس حتكون قاعدة بتقول لي okay, I'm data science وين في الموضوع ده كله؟ oh yeah, نحن we still didn't even talk data science, because data science is, to me, it's the art of discovery. Meaning, كيف إنك أنت تقدر تعاين huge come of data and you make a decision after. If you're not making a decision after, I'm not going to call that data science. It's either machine learning or NLP or data engineer or BI or whatever it is. Data science is all about decision making. كيف أنا عاين للداتا حقتي دي وبعد ده أقدر أقرر أنا أعمل باشا. In the
أمنية.
example of healthcare. Yes.
أمنية معلش أي معلش أنا بس عايز أسأل هنا يعني أنت من الديفينيشن بتاعك للداتا ساينتست أو الداتا ساينس، أنت قلت هو يعني making decision أو taking decision correct؟
Yes.
فهل هو ما لازم يكون عنده النولج في الماشين ليرنينج او الاي اي، يعني بس يتعامل، يعني لما اقول يتخذ قرار من ديتا يبدو انه هو لازم يكون عنده معرفه في الدومين، يعني الدومين ولا الداتا ريليتد للدومين، وبالتالي بيقدر يتخذ قرار، لكن ما لازم يكون عنده النولج في الماشين ليرنينج الجوريزمز ولا الاشياء دي ولا لا. ده السؤال الاول. السؤال الثاني انت قلتي الناتشورال لانجويج بروسيسنج انجينير. طيب دي ما تعتبر جزء من الماشين ليرنينج؟ ده two questions.
Okay, thank you so much for your question or questions. The first one, yes, absolutely. Inta is as an NLP engineer or machine learning engineer, no one cares about the domain. كل اللي لازم تكون بتعرفه إنك أنت you have very good technical skills. And by the way, that's why in my opinion, these jobs are easier. Because ممكن تقعد تعمل لك course في Udemy or Coursera, right? And you learn Python and you know how to do it. And you go on Kaggle and just practice. Data science is a combination of three things. One, you need some sort of analytical background. I'm not going to say it has to be statistics or math, but you need to be very good with analyzing data, noticing patterns, okay, summarizing it. And then the second thing is you need to be very, very good programmer. And I think lately it became not a big necessity in Naginta, you know how to program, because there are a lot of tools available today where it's just like drag and drop, right? But to be a very strong data scientist, I think you need to know one of the programming languages. And when I say one of the programming language, the basics are SQL. Yani, and when someone tells me, oh, I'm a data scientist, I only know Python, that's a big flag. I'm not going to hire him or her. Right? They need to know SQL because big data lives in the cloud or a server, and for you to extract it, manipulate it, prepare it, if you don't know SQL, it's going to be a big problem. Okay? And then the third thing, which is the domain knowledge. And that's why, like, even in my personal like journey, at some point I wanted to move out of healthcare. And then when I started interviewing, everyone challenged me on domain knowledge. I really wanted to get into supply chain. فكان بيقول لي oh yeah, you seem like a good candidate, you have really good experience, لكن ما عندي experience حق supply chain, because that's very, very important. If you don't have it, you're not going to know how to make the decision, because I might use the same algorithms. Let's say we're doing some segmentation or cluster analysis. I won't be able to use the right information to run that cluster if I didn't know what I'm segmenting. Because in healthcare, it's going to be patient. In retail, it's going to be consumers. In supply chain, it might be like the, I don't know, vehicle drivers, whatever it is, right? So you need to know the industry very well for you to help either the leadership team or whoever make that decision. Yusuf, did that answer your question? Can I move to the second one?
Yes.
Perfect. And then the second question was NLP and machine learning. People got to a level now where they're pushing for specialization. So the type of skills and algorithms that you use in machine learning, I would think of it as not as advanced as NLP. In fact, by Udemy course, you can become a machine learning engineer. NLP is very, very difficult. I have a team of 25 people. I have 3 people who have PhDs in that domain to be able to work on NLP problems. One of them do PhD in physics. The other one, I think it's chemical engineering. So they don't have the healthcare background. I don't need them to have the healthcare background. But for us to be able to process these big notes, I need very, very good technical people. And that doesn't come easy. Further questions about these two things? يوسف أو أي زول من الناس.
شكرا يا أمني على الإجابة، لأنه بجد فعلا بيوديمي كورس فعلا الحاجات دي كلها كده مع بعض. فعشان كده نحن محتاجين للشخص اللي عنده الخبرة العملية، يعني بجد بيقدر يعني يفتح للناس عيون الناس اللي عايز تمشي كويس تمشي كيف، يعني عشان ما يكون عنده خط. فشكرا على الإجابة يا أمني، كتر خيرك.
Of course. So yeah, so I think the first question when it comes to انت داير تعمل شنو؟ انت داير تبقى يا واحد من الاربعه دي. انت داير تكون data scientist. The track is completely different than انك انت تكون داير machine learning engineer. Different if you want to be NLP engineer. And different but easier if you want to be a data engineer. And a lot of people, especially here, يعني يقول لك data scientist is the sexiest job. I'm like, no, it's not. It's very competitive. In fact, the most highest paid job now is data engineers. It's not data scientists. Because when you think about it, نحن عايشين في era where we're collecting data on every single device we use. You're collecting data through your phone. Your phone is tracking you. Apple, Android, doesn't matter what it is. They have a lot of data about what sites you go to. And WhatsApp messages اللي بترسلوها لبعض دي, it gets analyzed and it gets labeled. Right? Your watches track you. If you are someone who has diabetes, these people usually get الليفل بتاع السكري حقهم once a day. That's data. Data is everywhere. If we want to be able to do machine learning ولا NLP ولا data analytics ولا data science, if we don't do that step first, no one gonna be able to do the rest. So if you're thinking, I want something to learn, maybe in 3 months, and I actually know people who did it, in 3 months and get paid well, my answer is go for data engineers. Then after you gain some sort of like experience in the data engineers, because as a data engineer, you're going to get introduced to SQL, Hadoop, technical skills حقتك بتكون بقت كويسة, especially if you're not coming from a programming background. Going through the data engineering track will give you that. Then the next step, I would say either you go for the data science or the machine learning engineer. And there's still, I would think of it, it's as easy, lakin it will take you longer to be an expert. So if you decide to go down the more advanced machine learning engineer or techniques, you need a lot of practice. And practice like Kaggle will help you. Because you need to start thinking about, okay, how can I transform the data? What algorithm I need to use? It's all about how to run the analysis. It's not about the decision making. And you can practice it yourself. If you want to be a data scientist, you need to find a job where they accept you as like a data analyst first, learn about the industry, right? إذا أنت already عملت data engineer for a while, you have a good programming skills. If not, you can either learn it on the job or sign up for Udemy or Coursera and do it. If you want to become an NLP engineer, that's a completely different track. And I think يعني حسي على الناس في industry in general, it doesn't matter if it's healthcare or something else, usually they look for people who have the academic background, right? يعني إذا جاني زولين واحد عنده PhD and they used NLP for their thesis versus someone who learned it online, I will probably pick the person who has the degree. محمد الأمين الصوت ماله بيقطع ولا شنو؟ في زول رسل حاجة في الشات. Can you guys hear me well ولا لا؟ I need someone to reply.
سامعينك يا أمنية. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, before we move on, I know إنه في لسه حاجة questions that I'm trying to look at now to answer you guys.
أمنية
Yes.
سؤال ثاني على السريع، يعني مثلا انا عايز بس اكزامبل توضيحي ل ثاني الفرق بين الماشين ليرنينج انجينير والداتا ساينس في القرار، شكل القرار اللي بيتخذه، يعني اكزامبل حي كده. فهمت
Okay, yeah.
علي؟
Yes, تمام. So example حي. أنا recently I started working on a project where we needed to predict a very rare disease. It's called alpha antitrypsin something. You can look it up. If you write Omnia Elmassad, Eversana, the paper is going to come up. الفكرة الأساسية كانت لأنه it's a very rare disease and the pharmaceutical companies they're sponsoring the test. فبقول لك إذا أنت مثلا شفت السيمتوم عند البيشنت حقك عنده symptoms معينة something like جحا، الزول ده إذا بقحقه أعمل التست، لكن التست ب $700. وأي زول ممكن يجي خاشي بالذات في فترة كوفيد ده يكون عنده جحا. So we can't just test every single person. We need to come up with a model that gives us a probability where we say, ياخي, by looking at the patient history and the symptoms they have very low probability إنه يكون عندهم the AATD indication or disease versus someone who has high probability. أديت البروجكت ده ل bunch of machine learning engineers that I have. الناس دي لاصت كده وجاتني قال لي والله يا أخي نحن we looked at الsymptoms حقت الpatient, we looked at كل الهيستوري medical history حقه, we looked at all the medication الأدوية هم بياخدوها, تمام, we built a model and the accuracy حقت الموديل دي was low. Actually precision and specificity and sensitivity were all like low. طيب يا جماعة نعمل شنو؟ I'm the domain expert there, and I think of myself as a data scientist more than machine learning engineer. So I was like, guys, we know one of the symptoms that these AATD people or patients have, بتأثر على الليفر حقتك, بتأثر على الكبد. Is it liver, كبد, or كلى? Whatever that is. It impacts you.
لا كبد ايوه.
الكبد. Okay, good. العربي حقي definitely دارس, المفروض امشي اشوف ليسك اصلحه. So بتأثر على الكبد, ودائما الحاجات اللي لها علاقة بالكبد إذا أنت داير to assess it, it has to happen through a lab test. أنت لازم تمشي المعمل يعمل لك test, blood test, أو يعمل لك bunch of tests. طيب يا جماعة, أنتوا استخدمتوا اللاب تيست دي في الموديل بتاعكم؟ قالوا لا. Who is like the thinking of what feature to use in your model? That's a data scientist's job. I might not be the person doing the algorithm, running the XGBoost or the random forest or whatever people run these days, but I'm the one who will say, hey, and as a machine learning engineer, try these features. تمام؟ ففعلا جيت قلت لهم, okay, try the lab. They tried the lab. They came back and they say, hey, لما نعاين لللابس دي حاجة نحن انتبهنا لها إنه it depends on أنت بتمشي يا معمل التست حقك it gets measured with different units. طيب يعني مثلا حسي لو أنت مشيت قلت دار تعمل كوليسترول حقك, في ناس they measure it between 4 and 6, وناس تاني I think it goes between 100 and 700. طيب نحن المفروض نعمل يا نوع من normalization here. Right? So they came back to the data science team and we sat down and we were like, you don't need to do transformation. How about you just build categories for the results? عندنا 4 categories. Either it's high or low or normal or abnormal. رجعوا تاني لناس machine learning section and they said, okay, let's try this. So that back and forth between the data scientist that represents the client, the domain, and the good programming to people who are very, very, very technical is what you need to make sure that the job is done, right? And then فعلا, they ran the model. Accuracy came more than, I think it was 0.98, something ridiculously good. And it's getting published. So if that's where the importance of the data science is. إذا الكلام ده أنا خليته بس للmachine learning engineers who just know how to do the transformation with the data, they don't have the domain knowledge, I don't think this would have got anywhere. So Yusuf, is that a clear example or you need another one?
لا 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 كلير واضح واضح. شكرا يا أمي.
طيب
شكرا.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة.
طيب أنا وضحت لي الداتا ساينتست مهمته بالضبط وال الام ال انجينير. داير أعرف الداتا انجينير في القصة دي دوره شنو؟ يعني
Okay.
الفرق بين الداتا ساينتست والداتا انجينير.
Okay. نرجع لموضوع الهيلث كير because that's my background, right? لما نحن نكون my job actually is building the data product. إنه نحن بنمشي ل hospitals, بنمشي ل doctor offices, بنقول لهم أدونا الداتا حقتكم. And we pay them some money and بنقول لهم we're gonna pay you in research. يعني إحنا we're gonna clean this data and make it more research ready and we're gonna sell it to pharmaceutical companies, but also we're gonna give it back to these either offices or hospitals. أي زول لما يجي يديك الداتا بتاعته it's a completely different structure. يعني مثلا في hospitals بيكونوا everything is in one table. It doesn't matter what the information is. It's literally one table and it ends up being a very wide and a very long table, right? That is hard to process, it's hard to ingest. تمشي لhospital تاني عندهم, and I'm not making this up, they have 500 tables. And I'm like, what the hell is happening here? Why 500? And then you go another one and it's 10. And my job is to figure out what is the best common data model that will be easier for the machine learning people to use. Because that's going to be completely different than I'm passing this data to data scientists to use. And I'll give two more detailed examples. مثلا في الشغل التابل اللي نحن بنخطه لناس machine learning, it needs to be decoded a certain way so they don't have to transform the data to run their machine learning algorithms, right? Versus the tables that needs to go to the data scientist, في حاجات كتيرة I eliminate. They don't care about it. And most of the data scientists in my team, they connect the data to things like Tableau and Power BI. So we want the data to be structured in a way, if they want to build like a visual for one of the executives, they can do it in like 5-10 minutes. And that data structure that I can connect to Tableau, it's a completely different than the one that I'm giving to for the algorithms, right? But before I even get to there, what is the best way to take all these different data sets that sits in a completely different format and build only one in my data lake, right? That other people can have access to it. That's the job of the data engineer person. They don't need to do analytics. Most of their job is about the quality of the data. يعني مثلا it's very very important to us إنه لما تجي مثلا أنت you're doing data ingestion للهايت حق الpatients. Some people you're gonna see that their height is like 0 centimeter, or some people it's gonna be like 500 centimeters. They don't make sense, and you don't want to pass that data with low quality to either the machine learning people or the data scientists. That's the job of data engineer. But the data engineers by themselves, they can make that decision. That's why you need the data engineers and the data scientists to work together, or the data engineers and someone who has that domain knowledge to say, okay, for every single column here, these are the acceptable values and these are the unacceptable values.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Okay.
Okay. Open forum. Who else? مين عنده سؤال؟
سؤال ثاني يا أمي.
Go ahead.
اوكي. يعني مثلا الان الدومين نوليدج فيري امبورتنت. يعني لو عايزين نتكلم عن الداتا ساينتست. طيب يعني مثلا الهيلث كير، انت ما دكتوره صح؟ ف يعني ما طبيبه قصدي. فهل انت النوليدج في الدومين ايوه النوليدج في للهيلث كير دومين، انت النوليدج دي اخذتيها من شغلك، ولا مثلا في اماكن ممكن الانسان يقدر يجراب النولج دومين؟ لانه هي فيري امبورتنت للناس اللي بتتكلم عن الداتا ساينس، يعني ما بس الجوريزم زي ما انت كنت ولا الاشياء دي. فدي المهمه، دي اهم نقطه. فدي افيلابل يعني في ريفرنسز يعني مثلا الهيلث كير والاشياء دي، ولا من وين وميري يعني؟
So the first question, I would say, sorry, not first thing that you do, you need to have the interest. قبل ما انك انت لازم to educate yourself in that domain, right? لانه في حاجات يعني مثلا انا واحده من الناس لما when I started I was a data analyst, and I remember my peers, they were more interested in the technical stuff. They didn't care about the domain knowledge. Lakin because I cared, I used to sit in meetings with people who are more senior to me and say, just I want to be there, I want to learn. كويس، اخذت لي كورسز انا عشان اعرف. انا اخر مره قريت احياء لما امتحنت شهاده سودانيه، اظن ذاتي كنت شايله حاسوب وقررت انه to drop it maybe like 2 weeks before the exam. So وقريت بالعربي. فاضطريت لما انا جيت هنا ولقيت روحي انا في ال healthcare industry, I took some courses just for it, biology, to make sure that أنا لما الناس يقولوا اسم حاجة organ في الجسم أكون عارفة هو قاعد وين. Right? So some people, they just don't have the interest, and it's absolutely fine. Right? That's why these people go into the different tracks of data engineers and ML engineers. So interest is very, very important. الحاجة الثانية, most of the knowledge you get it by working. يعني لازم تكون in the industry and start a little bit يعني زي ما بيقولوا lower on the ladder, بعد ذاك you move up. I've been in healthcare for 10 years. يعني أنا من حيث أتكلم عن AATD نشوف اللاو بتاع that, not something that I built like over 6 months. It's 10 years of knowledge. There are always courses that are related to the industry, لكن ما إلا تكون in a data science or analytics يعني أو تقالب. يعني مثلا حسي على healthcare because it's huge. If you go on Coursera and you write something like data science in healthcare, you're always going to find something to, you know, that focuses only on the analytics and machine learning and data science stuff related to concepts in healthcare. So if you choose that track, having these type of courses will help. Another thing that I would recommend people to do, you need to follow people who are very invested in the industry. I have 5 to like 10 mentors that I connected with when I was early in my career وكده. فهمتني؟ لازم تلقى زول قدامك وتقعد تقول لهم عليكم الله, have maybe like a monthly meeting with me, right? And then through that discussion you're gonna learn a lot. حاجة أخيرة وبرضو مهمة جدا جدا, find newsletters or journals that talks about what the industry is up to these days. And this is applicable for healthcare, telecom, retail. دائما بيكون في newsletters that you can subscribe to. إذا عندك the ability to do that. Sometimes just Google on يعني Google stuff. If you're in telecom and you want to know what are the, you know, recent research that's happening in telecom, if you just write telecom and data science, you might find a paper on ResearchGate and read about it. Yeah, it requires a little bit of اجتهاد منك and be creative about how to gain that knowledge إذا أنت ما كنت قادر تلقاها through your work. لأنه at some point people might like to make a transition, right? So في أسئلة في الchat. Give me 1 second. Actually, Yusuf or whoever asked that question,
Omnia.
did I cover
Yes,
the
yes.
answer? Okay, cool.
ايوه انا برضو عايز اقول لك انا كان شيرت معاك اسئله الاسئله.
Yeah, okay, let me take a look.
فلو يس لو اديتيها برايورتي عن الاسئله اللي في الشات، اوكي، بعدين ممكن ترجع لدي لو في زمن.
اوكي تمام. انا عارفه انه انا واحده من الناس دايره احصل الكوره، وغالبا في ناس كثيره هنا دايره تحصل الكوره. So let's maybe talk for another 10-15 minutes and then we can end it there. What is data science? We covered that. What are the responsibilities of the data scientist? I think we talked about it. The difference between AI, data science, AI, and machine learning. We talked about data science and machine learning. AI is just the big umbrella. And it requires more advanced stuff. So I'm not the right person to talk about AI, but it's more advanced stuff. It's if you want to do like robotics, build bots, these kind of stuff, that's AI. But and it might not even require like data the way we were working with machine learning concepts and data science concepts. But yeah, I'm not the right person to talk about AI here. This is too advanced for me. Kaggle. Practice Python on Kaggle enough for data science? The answer is no. You need the domain knowledge, and Kaggle doesn't give you the domain knowledge. So it has to be Kaggle, and figure out another resource for learning about the industry you're interested in. What is the roadmap to be a data scientist? Tools, courses, and knowledge required. Tools, I would say SQL. Doesn't matter if you're using Snowflake, Databricks, whatever. You need SQL. That's the first thing. The second thing is there is always a debate between using Python or R. I think nowadays most of the companies and people prefer Python, but honestly, it doesn't make a big difference. Especially if you have the statistics background and you already learned R, you're good to go. But one of these
SAS يا
two
أمنية
tools.
SAS برضو popular ولا SAS؟
No. For data science, SAS is not popular. For data engineers, yes.
لكن
And
هي
SAS,
بلاتفورم هي
go ahead.
بلاتفورم ممكن يعني الام ال انجينير يديفلوبوا فيها الموديل تبعهم عادي ويرنوه والتستنج وكل شيء.
Yeah, but it's not popular, right? I think it can do it. It's just not popular. People, or at least in this side of the world, honestly, I don't know what's happening in the Middle East. Like most of the companies here, especially if they're not banks, they don't use SAS.
Okay.
Okay, courses. Udemy I think is the best option. But you need to take more than one course. في ناس كثيرة بتتكلم عن إنه طيب مفروض أحضر يعني هل موضوع الكورسز ده كفاية؟ Yeah, كفاية. I don't think if you're probably going to be more technical. And you can get that, job if you go on Udemy or Coursera instead of going for masters. لكن avoid the certificate يعني في كلية ما كلية في جامعات هنا at least in North America sometimes يقول لك okay 6 months it's just like a diploma whatever, it's very expensive, they don't teach you a lot, and you're gonna end up paying like maybe sometimes like 5,000 or 10,000, and you will get more knowledge if you go to Udemy or Coursera and pay $100 on a couple of courses. طيب. What is the level of knowledge required in math and stat? If you want to be a machine learning person, you might not need that mathy, statty background. If you are a data scientist, your brain needs to think in different ways, because I think of machine learning as you have literally a lot of like stuff off shelf. You need to pick the one that suits your analysis, right? Where in data science, زي ما قلت لك, I really think of it as an art of discovery, right? And sometimes all these off-the-shelf products might not work for your case. So you need to be creative about coming up with something new. So it's not necessarily the math part is not necessarily, but I think, in my opinion, stats is important. At least the basics. Like you need to know when to use median and mean. You need to know if logistic regression is gonna solve your problem, or you need to do XGBoost or any sort of like more complicated classification. So the stat is important. Are they any ready-made frameworks to do data science? I don't think I understand that question. يوسف ده أظن جا منك.
الما مفهوم اسكيب الكويشن عادي، لانه عايزين ندي برضه فرصه للاسئله هنا فويس اللي عايزين يسالوا في الدقائق دي.
Okay, I think the rest are there. Yeah, the rest I think I already covered in the discussion. So let's give a chance for people في الميتنج هنا to ask questions.
طيب يا شباب اللي عايز يسال يرفع ايده عادي، بنأميوت، عمل له اميوت في الدقائق الباقيه عشان تلحقوا الكوره، وأمنية تلحق الكوره كمان عشان تجينا ثاني سيشن ثاني ان شاء الله. الفرصه مفتوحه للاسئله يا شباب، ولا ازال انا عندي سؤال يا أمنية لما الشباب لو عايز. اوكي خلاص، ايمان عايز تسال، نخلي ايمان تسال. تفضل يا ايمان.
السلام عليكم.
عليكم السلام.
مرحبا باشمهندس، وشكرا شديد يعني على السيشن.
Of course. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much. So أنا actually أسأل في level أقل شوية من الداتا ساينس. It's actually about data analysis. أنا أصلا requirement engineer و kind of ممكن أشتغل as a business في أي حاجة، طبعا أي حاجة دايرة analysis يعني باختصار شديد. I love the analysis so much. So ده واحد من الأسباب اللي أصلا خلتني think about data science and data at all، يعني في حاجة في الداتا. So لدرجة إنه حاليا قاعدة شغالة من فترة يعني kind of لي سنة حاليا إنه أنا حولت تماما من requirement engineer لشغل بتاع data analysis، لكن كفكرة كقراية ككده. So I need more suggestions, roadmap maybe, اقتراحات، حاجات إنه ممكن الواحد يعني كيف الواحد يقدر يطور نفسه تماما، خصوصا إنه يعني في فكرة بتاعت إنه يغير career shift تماما في الموضوع. So yeah, please help.
Of course. So go ahead. في عندي سؤال ولا حاجة؟
شفتي الان ايمان سالت سؤال، هي انت قلتي حاجه منطقيه، انت قلتي يعني الناس المبتدئين بيحتاجوا منتر. ايمان أمنية منتر خلاص، ده اللي يمكن عملت لك
time zone يا جماعة. Which I'm more than happy to do it, right? I think things are changing في الفيديو بتاعنا، لكن yeah, إيمان, by all means feel free to reach out, and I think mentor is very very important. لكن حاجة لكل الناس هنا، data analyst or data analysis and data science, I think of them are يعني قريبات لبعض. They both need domain knowledge. They both need some sort of like a math or stats mainly, but not that heavy for a data analyst compared to the data scientist. And the most important thing, the programming part is not required for data analysis, right? Most of the people, when they think of data analysis, you can do it in Excel, between SQL, because sometimes the data lives in you know, like in the database. So you need SQL to make sure that you extract it, but most of the stuff you can do it on Excel, you can do it on Tableau, you can do it on Power BI. دي واحدة من الحاجات المهمة. Plus, most of the companies now, they start thinking of using platforms like AWS and Google. So إذا دايرة تقري, go look at these certificates, right? Because I think عندهم حاجة Google بالذات, I didn't take it myself, لكن I heard Google and IBM, they have really really good data analytics certificates, and then they help you use Google Analytics and then Google spreadsheet, or I forgot what they call it, sheet something, plus Excel. But the domain knowledge is very very important for data analysis.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أمي والله أنا سعيدة جدا جدا بإني حضرت المحاضرة دي وشاكرة لكم جدا والله، جدا يعني مبسوطة. طيب سؤالي عن التابلي والباور بي آي أنت ذكرتيهم، هل هم ضروريين لإني أكون داتا ساينتست ولا عادي هم بيستخدموهم في الداتا أناليسيس؟ يعني أنت ذكرتي البايثون وذكرتي الأسئلة. طيب الباور بي آي والتابلي كيف؟ شكرا لك.
There, thank you so much. It's more important for the data analysis or data analyst to learn either Tableau or BI compared to the data scientist. Because the data analysts, they're more on the businessy side, right? They need to tell a story about the data. They might not be the people making the decision, but you need to start thinking about how can I take that data, deliver it to executive, and make it easy for them to understand. And the best way to do that, definitely, it's not just a bunch of tables, right? You need to come up with visuals. People use Excel. Sometimes the Tableau is amazing, honestly. I'm a big fan of Tableau compared to Power BI and Excel because you can connect it to your data, and then it's very easy to build nicely looking dashboards. العفو. Okay, we have 2 minutes. One last questions and all we go للكرة.
مجتبى مجتبى go ahead please. مجتبى.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام.
Thanks for the informative session. We really get too many knowledge out of it. My question: career growth best for the data scientist. For example, for data engineer, we have engineer, senior engineer, architect. For a data scientist, what from your own vision there, North America, what are the levels in the data science?
Okay, yeah. So most of the data scientists, that at least what I've witnessed, is you go from a junior data scientist to senior data scientist to a lead data scientist. And then after that, people switch tracks. إذا أنت بقيت more on the management side, right? Then you become a manager, a director, and that's the track I got to. You're more on like managing people, managing teams and projects that are data sciencey, or there's data science to it, or you become more technical. And I usually observe people going from lead data scientists to NLP engineers, right? And then they go to a senior NLP engineer, and then a lead NLP engineer, and then they become, I don't know, individual contributor. You might still get a title that is like a director or whatever, but you're not managing people, you're just managing projects. And most of these people end up in individual contributor roles. Did that answer your question?
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
أمنية باقي دقيقتين بس سؤال يعني أكيد حيفيد الناس. احنا عندنا يعني مثلا انا كنت بتناقش مع داتا ساينتست عندنا معانا، فمره حكى لي انه هو عندهم موديل، والموديل ده الاكيوريسي بتاعته 30%، لكن it works. قال لي it works for me. فانا لانه يعني ده ما مجالي فاستقربت انه الاكيوريسي 30%، لكن قال لي it works. فهل ممكن يكون الاكيوريسي 30% او يعني قيمه زي دي والموديل يكون effective؟
Yes, absolutely yes. Because accuracy, okay, there are 3 things that you need to look at when, or even like 4 things that you need to look at when you're looking at a model. You need to look at the sensitivity of the model, predicting false positives, right? And then you need to make sure that your model, also their specificity, it's good. And usually accuracy is the like average of both. So مثلا الموديل حقنا اللي اتكلمت عنه قبالك ده انه انت داير تعرف انه الزول ده عنده AATD ولا لا. الموديل is very good in giving a high probability for someone who actually has AATD. I'm not gonna miss on anyone that has AATD, right? But عنده a lot of false positives. I might say this person has AATD ويطلع ما عنده AATD. فبالنسبة لنا لما عملنا البروجكت ده قام our client was like, oh, I'm fine. because I want to make sure that ال percentage حقت الناس اللي عندهم ال rare disease ده out of the population is like 1%. تمام؟ وهم كانوا بيعملوا تيست لناس أظن maybe like in multiple thousand. يعني مثلا نقول أنا عامل تيست ل1000 لكن actually في بس 10 عندهم this indication. الموديل حقي حيختار لهم 200 instead of the 1000. بدل لكن ال 200 ديل ال10 اللي قاعدين اللي عندهم الانديكيشن ده غالبا 99% حيكونوا قاعدين في ال 200 ديل. So they're going to be like, oh, that's fine because you're still saving money for me. So the model might not be accurate, right? But it has high positive, low false negative. Actually, I made a mistake. I don't know false positive or false negative. But anyways, you got the idea. It's even though it's not, the accuracy is not high. لأنه أنا في ناس كتيرة قلت إنه هم عندهم indication ده and they don't have it. But as long as the 10 قاعدين في 200 ديل, the model is working and we're good. That's one. Two, I remember for my thesis, my accuracy was for the model was like 40%. And people are like, oh, as long as it's not going to kill a person, I'm fine. لأنه في النهاية I'm not interested in making predictions. I'm interested in knowing what the important features that help predicting الحاجة دي. And it was a market research thing. So yeah, I've seen it a lot where people are like, oh, accuracy is not what I'm looking for. The model still work for me. I can make a decision out of it. في سؤال في chat قالت what about salary for data scientists per hour? I have no idea. Where are you in North America ولا أنت قاعدة في نجلاء؟ أنت قاعدة في السودان؟ قاعدة في Middle East? I think it varies. Oh, أنت قاعدة في North America. I don't think of it per hour. I think of it as a yearly thing, and in the US, fresh people at a school with no experience, they make 100K. Oh, just you're asking? Fine. Yeah, they get paid well. They get paid 100K. لكن لو أنت بقيت data engineers, maybe with like a year of experience, you can easily get to the 150.
الو السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام.
مساء الخير، كيف حالك؟ تمام؟
الحمد لله I'm good.
الله يسلمك. أنا عندي سؤال بس، الفرق شنو بين البي اي انجينيرنج والداتا انجينيرنج؟
والله أنا البي اي ده ما مجالي so I can't answer that.
اوكي. طيب بخصوص الاي دي اي.
One second. Sorry, my bad, my brother.
لا ما في مشكله. طيب بخصوص الاي دي اي، في واحده من الستبس تقريبا في الداتا ساينس، هي بتحتاج يعني نوليدج بتاع statistics ولا basics بس ولا deep يعني؟
I would say basics will do enough. يعني as long as إنك أنت عملت لك course حق statistics 101, you should be fine.
Okay. شكرا لك.
Okay.
أمنية، شكرا لك يا أمنية، الله يديك العافية. الساعة 10 دقيقة أنت مش تلحق الكورة قلتي صح؟ ربنا يديك العافية وما قصرتي، وأكيد تاني حررتي محاضرة كده شوية نغير لك ستايلك. أنت تحبي تتكلم بدون سلايد وكده، المرة الجاية بنحاول نخليها شوية تكون مختلفة برضه based on question. يعني بنحاول بعد توعديني إن شاء الله حتكوني معنا مرة جاية نخليها تكون مرتبة أكثر، و يعني بحس إنه أقول لك شو، يعني ما زي الأسة تجي حاجات بعيدة من المجال، تكون أورينتد كده في المجال لكل الناس المهتمين في المجال ده إن شاء الله بإذن الله. شكرا لك يا أمنية، ما قصرتي، كتر خيرك، وشكرا على زمنك، وفي ميزان حسناتك ان شاء الله. وان شاء الله موعدين بمحاضره ثانيه متواصلين باذن الله نرتب المحاضره.
المرة اللي فاتت لما قلت موعدين بمحاضرة تانية حصلت بعد سنة ونص. So let's just set the right expectations. I'm joking.
لا ان شاء الله قريب باذن الله. يا شباب يزول عنده اسئله يرسلها لي، ممكن نرسلها لأمنية وان شاء الله ترد عليها استكست ان شاء الله باذن الله.
إن شاء الله.
شكرا يا
يلا
أمنية، كتر
السلام
خيرك.
عليكم.
تسلمي، الله يديك العافيه.
Good
شكرا يا
night.
شباب.
Bye.
في امان الله.